Hello, and welcome back to the last tutorial. That's kind of like the books, at least that I know of, unless you guys want to see more. Now, this one is going to be the combat tutorial, which means pretty much anything that's in here I will be talking about, except for the End Crystal and TNT, and probably just a couple of things like horse armor that's going to be the same as regular armor, and just a few things, but basically everything in this tab here is going to be what I talk about. Now, an important disclaimer is that this is for Java after 1.9 or Java 1.9 and up combat, so not Bedrock and not anything before 1.9. Without further ado, I believe that's everything. So let's just get started with the sword. Is the most basic weapon, and so basically it's 1.6 attack speed. That's just saying how fast you can actually swing it. So as I just swing it here just off in the air, you can see that it's pretty quick. Now if I swing at the zombie, you'll see that there's a little bit of a swipe, and that swipe is just an AoE thing, so if there were more zombies here, I would hit all of them. Just the target one would take the most damage. This wooden sword does 4 damage, so this guy should die in 5 hits, so I've hit him once, twice, 3 times, 4 times, and 5 times. Apparently it's not quite right. Okay, so the sword does 4 damage, and basically I can kill this zombie in a few hits, but it takes a little while to actually kill the zombie. Then the stone sword is basically the rest of the swords are the exact same thing. They just increase damage and they change the look a little bit. And durability, of course, increases. So, for example, the gold sword is the exact same damage as the wood sword, but it's got much less durability. So if I just kill this zombie, you'll see that the wood sword has 41 out of 59, and the gold has 26 out of 32. Now the wood sword has 41 because I killed like 3 zombies with it, so don't mind the full numbers, it's just 59 versus 32. But the iron sword has 6 damage, stone has 5, diamond has 7, and netherite has 8. So not a huge jump up with each of these, 1 damage per, which it's not the best, but it is at least something. You are dealing a little bit more damage with each stroke. Now the axe is actually almost an exact opposite to the sword, and that is because it does high amounts of damage but attacks much slower. So these first two, the wood and the golden axe, they both do 7 damage, but the wooden axe is 0.8 attack speed and the gold axe is 1 attack speed, so it takes quite a while for the axe to actually come back for each of these. And then next you have the stone axe, which has the same attack speed as the wooden axe. And then the iron axe, which has 0.9 attack speed, so right in between the wood and the gold. And then diamond with 1, and netherite as well with 1. The stone, iron, and diamond axes all do 9 attack damage, and then the netherite axe does 10. So overall the damage doesn't go up a whole ton. It just gets a little bit faster with each axe, and that's basically the main difference there. Okay, so these next few are a little bit different. So these all are ranged except for the trident. The trident, well, okay, not really except for the trident. The trident is still ranged. So I can come back here and throw the trident, and that kills the zombie, and then I can go and pick up the trident again. The zombie was probably already weak. but I can throw it like that, or I can just walk up to him and smack him a couple times. So the trident is a little bit special, and it's also got water capabilities, so I'll showcase that in a second, but basically the trident can actually just fly through the water, unlike with the bow, which is ranged, and you just shoot the zombie as long as you have arrows, and then the crossbow, which takes a bit of time to reload, and then you shoot it at any point because you can hold it here, switch to another weapon, do that, and then do the crossbow. And I totally missed there. That's okay. But basically, each of these two are ranged, take up arrows, and when in the water, they do not fly very far. The arrows do not. They don't fly very far. Now the trident, on the other hand, it flies because it's meant to be in the water. But you can still use it outside of the water and on land, and just use it as if it was a sword or an axe. And all of these weapons can be enchanted, and each of the enchantments that you can use. So you can enchant the swords and axes with sharpness. The swords you can get from the enchanting table, and so you can just enchant the sword and get sharpness straight from an enchantment table. But the axe, on the other hand, you're gonna have to get a sharpness book and then enchant it with an anvil. Then the trident, to increase its power, is to use impaling, so that'll just increase its power, and also it does 9 attack damage, so it's on par with the axes in terms of attack damage, and it's actually a lot faster than them as well, so it's actually really viable to go for the trident if you want range and close-up attacking. So it's pretty balanced. The bow takes power for its increased damage, and I don't believe the crossbow has an increased damage, whatchamacallit, like a higher damage enchantment, because I don't think the bow enchantments work on the crossbow. I could be wrong, or, well, most of them don't work, like Flame and Infinity don't work, Punch doesn't work, but there's probably a few that will actually work. Another thing with the trident is if you enchant it with loyalty, it will come back without you having to go retrieve it, which is actually really nice. Riptide will make you fly through the water or through the rain if you try to throw it, so it'll propel you rather than just the trident. And then channeling in a thunderstorm, if you hit a mob, and specifically a creeper, the creeper will be charged, and there's a few other mobs that will also get some sort of special property when hit by lightning, but you will actually strike lightning when you hit a mob with channeling in a thunderstorm, which is pretty interesting. You probably have seen Punch here, so Punch just is knockback of the bow. Flame makes the arrows light on fire. Infinity, you just need one arrow and you can just fire as long as you have durability for the bow. And Infinity does not mix with mending, wherever that is. Oh, piercing for the crossbow is really nice. There's so many enchantments. I'm trying to hit on them based on weapon, but I'm going all over the place. But those are the basic enchantments. So Power 5, increased damage. Punch 2, increase the knockback. Flame, light the entity on fire. Infinity, infinite arrows. Then with the crossbow, you have multi-shot. It'll fire 3 arrows at once. With 1 arrow, it'll only consume 1 arrow. Quick charge, it'll load the crossbow faster. Piercing will shoot through more mobs, and it might do more damage. I don't think it does, though. And of course, Mending can go on all of these. Then we have, for the swords, there's Sharpness, which increases damage overall. And Smite, which increases damage for undead mobs. Bane of Arthropods increases damage for just spiders. Knockback increases the knockback each time you hit. The fire aspect lights the entity on fire. Looting will actually increase the chances for certain drops or give you more drops, depending on what it is. So like Rotten Flesh, you could get like 3 or 4, or the chance for Wither Skulls could increase so that you have a higher chance of getting that. Sweeping Edge, when you do the sweep and you hit more entities, the other entities hit take more damage, and that's all of these, all of those enchantments. Sweeping Edge, Looting, and I believe Bane of Arthropods and Smite do not work on axes, but the rest do. I could be wrong on like knockback and fire aspect, but I know for sure Sharpness works on axes. Whew, that was a mouthful. That was a lot of just weapon stuff. There's also a bunch of arrows. Basically, it's just you grab any of these potions and you put it on an arrow. That no more explanation really needed. Spectral arrows just make the entity glow when a spectral arrow hits whatever entity that you were aiming at. So, that was a mouthful of all of the weapons. And another thing is crossbows can also shoot fireworks. And if they're like exploding fireworks rather than just the flight duration fireworks, then it will do damage, of course. Alright. Now, for more of the defense side of things, there you've got your shield, which will block damage from an incoming source. So from the front here, I would be blocked, except for maybe my head, but pretty much everything here would be blocked. If I were to look up, I believe that would it might block something. I can't remember, but I'm pretty sure if I had an entity shooting directly like straight down, this would block the damage. And then of course, just wherever this shield is, that's where you take damage, or where you wouldn't take damage. It blocks all sources of damage, and you can still get hit from other angles. So it's really just where you're facing, that's where the shield will protect. Then we have armor, and this is going to be best shown in the survival mode menu, because, well, the armor actually has its own special bar. So if I switch to survival, and if you look down towards the heart, right above the heart, as I put on the armor, you'll see that this bar increased. And then if I switch it with like leather, you see it decreases 1 there, and then it decreases a couple there, and then it decreases a few more, and that one actually stayed the same. But basically this plus 1, 2, 5, 4 armor here, that's how many armor points down here it equates to. So from my understanding of how this works, for every 1 point of damage you would take on your hotbar here, your hearts, that would just be absorbed by the helmet here. Or if you took 1 heart of damage here, you'd and you would have taken overall 2 hearts because of the extra 3 here. So that's what I'm guessing works. Now, it's not exactly like that, because you can still take damage with full diamond or netherite armor. even though they will fill up your entire armor bar here. So if I put this all on, it's fully filled up. You still will take damage, but it's like really reduced damage. There are also armor enchantments, which you probably saw a few of when I was scrolling up here. So protection 4, probably very obvious. It just protects you. It's an overall general protection, so it'll protect you from everything overall. Fire protection specializes in fire, blast protection in explosions, projectile protection in arrows and other projectiles. Respiration isn't really related to combat and all that, nor is feather falling or aqua affinity. Thorns definitely is. So if you have thorns on your armor and you take damage, then the source, there's a chance that whatever attacked you takes damage back. So a skeleton can take damage, even though it doesn't fully make a lot of sense. The skeleton shooting an arrow at you can take damage from the thorns on your armor, but be aware that having thorns on your armor will actually speed up the durability loss. And then the rest of these are just other enchantments that go on armor. They're not useful for combat. And another important thing, actually, that I forgot about with shields, they can be broken with axes. So if an entity has an axe, or if you're fighting a player with an axe and you're holding up your shield, they will break the shield for a period of time and then it'll come back. The horse armor is basically regular armor just for horses, not anything special there. And then there's the totem, which will actually stop you from dying from any source, and it'll give you a few effects. So I'm just gonna fly up holding the totem. You can't just have it in your inventory, you have to be holding it in either your main hand or your offhand. And then when you die, you get some absorption, 4 hearts of it, regeneration 2 to refill your entire health bar, and then you have fire resistance as well, which is just another extra precaution just in case you were taking damage from fire sources. So that was basically everything in here. Each of the arrows just produce their potion effect, so instant damage would do instant damage against most entities and players, and that kind of thing. End crystals and TNT are a little bit interesting. The one thing I will say is that any explosion focuses on the feet for whatever reason. So if you are hiding behind a block right here and there's like a TNT block right in there, like right here or up here, so if this block here was a TNT block, you'd still take a bunch of damage, but it would be much reduced. And that's basically everything with combat. If you want more detailed versions of any of these tutorials, please leave a comment and I will very likely get to them. So I hope you enjoyed, and I hope you learned something in this specific video, and I will see you all next time. Bye!